What would you do if you found your boyfriend's secret stash of your underwear, your old missing cell phone, 2 dead people's cell phones, and some teeth, and a lot of other really creepy stuff? I think you should run. But please don't run from our after show, because we have Caroline Kepnes here in the studio, the writer of the book You, to talk with us, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the You After Show here at AfterBuzz TV. We are, of course, talking about Season 1, Episode 9, titled Candace. We're going to be breaking down what really happened with Candace, and do we have all the answers? And, what's the second Instagram? I'm just not really sure. Secondly, Dr. Nikki getting pistol whipped by Joe after he finds out the truth about him and Beck. And, of course, Beck's journey of finding the truth. I am your host, Sam Davidson, and I have a lovely panel here next to me.
Hey guys, I'm Renee, Ariel.
Hi everybody, I'm Maggie Clark.
And of course, Caroline. Sorry, I'm just so excited. Caroline Kepnes.
Hi,
Yay.
thank you.
Yay.
Yay to you.
You three.
Yes. Writer of the book and also Hidden Bodies as well, correct?
Yes, and Providence, which is a whole other story.
Oh my God, amazing. I can't wait to hear about it. So let's talk about our overall thoughts of this episode. I think the entire world was shook. It's one of the best episodes of TV I have literally ever seen.
I couldn't agree more. I had to, I'm not kidding, the last 10 minutes, I had to pause it and text my friends and just be like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. She's going to find the box. I was losing my mind. This episode was so good. This show was so good. I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh my gosh, I completely agree. I was so excited, freaking out when she found the box. I thought that scene was unbelievable. Just watching Elizabeth Lau perform as Beck was just unbelievable. Like, her genuine reactions to finding these disgusting things and realizing who Joe actually is. It was unreal.
It's almost 24 hours and I'm still shaking. And I've seen it before, but it's still that impact when she walks in there. And I think it was so smart to have Paco right before, because it's that sweetness and that vulnerability, and then
Oh my God.
How big of a part are you? So do you get sent the episodes early? Like, how involved are you with everything?
Yeah, I mean, Greg and Sarah are just great, inclusive. The writer's awesome, like as you would expect the people making the show to be. So I would read the scripts, and I wrote an episode, and just talk about everything all the time, and
Your episode last week was amazing, by the way.
So
it was
good.
Unbelievable.
Thank you. I was so happy to get to go back into it. It's like you get this present, to revisit everything.
Well, let's talk about Candace, because we finally see her, who she was. Kind of a bitch. Not saying she deserved whatever was coming to her, but just wasn't my favorite person. What were your guys' overall thoughts of this character?
It's so weird to me seeing Joe with anyone else or being obsessed with anyone else, because this whole season they drill in our minds like Beck, Joe likes Beck, and then all of a sudden we've gotten her in some flashbacks, but now Candace had such a huge impact on his life, and she's so different from Beck, in my opinion. Her laugh is a lot. And yeah, I was like, that's such a toxic relationship, and that's all I was thinking the whole time with their flashbacks. But he's also a little bit cray. Real cray.
Yeah. See, you're falling for it too. At the beginning of the season, Renee was yelling at us like, he isn't sexy. This isn't sexy. He is, very violent. But
What show are you watching?
Well, it wasn't until, I'll tell you, what did I say this last episode? Right? That's when it's been a whirlwind. That was when the rom-com type of feel was happening, right? That was last week?
That was last week.
That was the one episode that I'm like, oh my God, Joe. And then this episode snaps you right back into, honestly, on a whole new level, just how creepy he is. Because for once, you're actually getting the creepy experience from another person's perspective, not just Joe, with his inner monologue that everything's okay, like Beck is experiencing it. So it was so good.
A lot to say about this. Yeah.
So much to say.
I mean, gosh, what are my feelings about Candace? I see her as, not a very nice person. She wasn't really dedicated to Joe. She was kind of manipulating him. But at the same time, I also see how she was kind of just doing whatever she could to get ahead in the industry. She was like, I want to be famous so badly. So she was, leaving all this destruction in her wake. And as a result, I mean, Joe just went insane over it. And I thought that she was for sure dead. But now seeing this Instagram, is she alive? I don't know. Are we going to find out in the next episode?
Well, Maggie, you don't know.
Well, but the thing is, it could be different from what's in the book.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. This Instagram really threw me off.
What is it like for you, Caroline, seeing this character that already was so mysterious in the books actually be brought to life?
Oh, it's just a miracle. I mean, it really is. Every Sunday, I'm like, I love the guide in old school TV, so I go on the guide. I'm like, yep, it's there. It's really there. It's just powerful. And to see all the, that was what I think got to me about the teeth. Because when I write him, and I'm always not forgiving him, but trying to think of how he would get away with things, and those teeth, it's those are teeth. So it makes it very hard to go back there for me to remember oh no, he did do all these things. Even though he talks himself out of it, and he would say about Candace that he was drawn to the wrong woman.
Yeah.
That she wasn't honest with him.
Well, let's talk about that dishonesty. So we do see there was another man involved who we didn't know how many people Joe had killed at the beginning of the season. And he acted like Benji. He's like, oh, I'm not a killer, but we think you're a killer, Joe. So we don't know if he's killed Candace, but he did kill this dude, Elijah. So I don't know why I'm laughing. It's terrible. But
it was so cash the way you're
I know,
he
I constantly feel like a sicko.
You just give him a little push.
He pushed him off of a bridge.
But I'm sorry. Okay, so here's what happened. He finds out Candace is cheating on him with this guy that's going to sign her to a record label or signs her. And then he goes and finds him, berates him. The guy tells him, didn't even mention you. I'm sorry, man. He was kind of nice. He was like a Benji, in a way. And he's doing coke on the thing and goes, hey, do you want a bump? And then Joe goes, yeah. And then throws him off the building. Oh, my God.
What a moment.
Wow. What did you guys think about that moment?
I wasn't shocked.
Yeah, I gotta say I saw it coming. I really saw it coming. I mean, he was literally sitting on the edge, and we know that Joe's a murderer. And I was like, oh, this dude's totally gonna get pushed off.
I thought there'd be a struggle or something, but nope, bye.
I loved it because of the spontaneity when Joe is such a planner about everything and thinks everything through so much, and then that whoosh. Sorry, Elijah. R.I.P.
Oh, man.
But we find out that there's, of course, Candace is not in love with him anymore, and we don't really see her reaction to when Elijah died. Was anything like that in the book? Just curious. I think that's not a spoiler. If you saw if Candace saw Candace's reaction to Elijah dying.
No, I mean, Elijah is not in the book, but with Candace and Joe, she wanted to go on tour, she wanted to have a career, and Joe did not want that.
Ooh, I like that. It's a new character. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, it's different.
It's different.
There's no Elijah.
I want to read this book so bad.
You
I've been
have
trying to hold
to.
off, you guys, but after this season...
One
more
more
week.
I'm not gonna wait for the second season.
I'm
Yeah,
reading
sorry.
this
Yeah, no,
book.
it's perfect. In between, you read You and then Hidden Bodies.
Well, we've been very strong.
All my books.
Yes,
Got my website.
She said,
Since we mentioned the book, I have to brag for a second that Caroline autographed my book today.
Yeah.
So I am very lucky. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, that's very exciting.
it's a two-way street. I'm so happy when there's a book to sign.
Aw. Well, so we have a flashback of Mr. Mooney really seeing him finally. Was he everything you had imagined?
Oh, God, yes. And that scene, that's not in the book. I love that so much. And then it's the dark, sick side of it, too, of Joe, using him. Just all of it on so many levels. It made me cry. It made me creeped out. I'm like, that's a really powerful scene when you have so many different feelings about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't know exactly what the truth is. And
Right.
I no longer know what to believe
Exactly.
about anything.
Right. Was that story about the stroke and Joe getting there 2 days later, was that true?
Oh, I
Did
think Joe
he-
did
or
did
something.
Joe make that up?
Maybe Mr. Mooney started feeling guilty and was like, oh, I'm going to tell on you. And then Joe's like, I don't think so.
No, I feel like Joe would genuinely have, love for Mr.
What?
Mooney because look at your
He
face.
locked Beck in a cage, Maggie.
I know, but Mr.
Don't be
Mooney, he raised Joe.
He's his
And
father.
you know, he's the reason why Joe is the way he is.
Yeah,
And what a good
exactly.
job he did. So yeah, Joe feels very like beholden to him.
I could very well see Joe doing something.
Renee.
Yeah, no,
Renee.
I think that there definitely is something that's missing from the narrative that we got for that. But yeah, we found out, just like any real father would, not any real father, but a lot of parents would cover up for their kids' murder. We see it on TV all the time. So TV parents. So it's essentially what he was doing, and we're going to talk about him more in a little bit because we get to see Mr. Mooney present day. But of course, we also have a lot of stuff going on here at AfterBuzz that Renee would like to tell you about.
Yeah, guys, we got a whole lot of stuff. So, in case you don't know, our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help, so we are asking you that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they are optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments down below, and we will thank you on air. For now, thank you for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yes, and after we finish up with this show, we of course are on a lot of other ones, so please subscribe to keep tuned for us. Next, let's talk about Beck's search for the truth. So she does what a lot of girlfriends do, you know, deep dives, like Renee.
Yeah,
I'm just
me.
How was your day, Renee?
Oh my God, this would 1,000%. It's not even shade. This would be me. If I had questions about an ex who like didn't exist on social media, I would first be like, is he a murderer? And I would look through everything. Absolutely. Beck, smart. That's the first smart thing I think she's done.
That good detective work too.
Yep.
Figuring
Yeah.
out the mutual friendship and
Right,
you know.
smart.
Yeah.
I love it. When she went to tag friends, I'm like, you know what's up, Beck.
Yeah, she went the extra mile when she went to even meet up with Maddie at Maddie's job. I was like, wow. I mean, she's like going out of her way. She's going to like Brooklyn and she's trying to meet this girl, or was it the Bronx? I don't remember. But I mean, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, was that okay? So when you wrote, what year did you write the book?
In 2013.
So everything that's in this, I mean, I'm sure they elevated it for the show as far as the social media aspect, or was that in the book too?
There was social media in the book, but I feel like it's a little different in the show, and we just do more of it. We just have more of it. Like in 5 years, I feel like I know I'm more addicted, you know?
Yeah.
And it's there, like now there's more crossover with Instagram and Facebook being together. Like, now I'm accidentally revealing my stock.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's able to, just like Joe did to her, which is, you know, kind of ironic. So she is in Joe's shoes. And, you know, I love Beck. But why does she like him so much this time? Like, what has changed? We find out later about her cheating, but, you know, I think she might just be fascinated by a mystery.
I think that they always had chemistry, but it's more like she had him the whole time, and then all of a sudden there's a period of time where he was with someone else, and we always want what we can't have. And then I do think it felt like the very like rom-com, the initial, oh my God, we're back together high. So I think that's what it was. Because I don't know, what she sees of Joe is different than what we see of Joe. So.
I feel like we still kind of see Joe that way a little bit too.
Yeah. I think when someone gets into your system, it's just hard to get them out sometimes
So
too.
true.
And I see that with her. I feel like it's in every step of her performance. When she's not even speaking, sometimes when he's talking, and she has that like, she's there like, why am I here?
Yeah.
But I'm here, and I don't want to leave. And
Right. I think seeing Joe interact in a relationship, like you said, Renee, with Karen, and she was looking at it from an outsider point of view, she was like, wait a minute, what I had was amazing. And look at what a great boyfriend he is, and I miss him. And then when she was with her friends at lunch, and her friends even said that she needed to stop finding issues with her relationship that they didn't think were there. They were like, oh, you're trying to like make a mountain out of a molehill. Why don't you enjoy your success that you're having with your career and enjoy your success that you're having with your relationship?
Because that's such a normal thing. I don't know if you guys have had this experience. You've had friends that have been in relationships that they're kind of like looking for a problem. And you're like, girl, you're never, like, let yourself be happy. This is your first good boyfriend, but meanwhile, it's the first probably like worst boyfriend. Well, little does she know.
I mean, obviously Maggie's not single. She's very happily married. But me and Renee are single girls out in the town. You know, we meet men. And I'm sorry, it terrifies me that maybe the best, if we meet a guy that's perfect like that, if I meet one, I'm like, you're a killer. I'm just gonna be like, straight up, you're a killer. I don't trust you. You're Joe. It's not.
The show has ruined you.
Even if he made you an everything ship cake, though, it's.
Yeah, I'd fall for it.
See, I don't think this would happen to me. You want to know why? Because I, A, have curtains, and B, would have done a deep dive day one.
Yeah.
I would have found, like, shady clues day one because I'm, like, too on top of that stuff. I'm paranoid.
Caroline, can you tell us why she doesn't have curtains?
To me, that was when I lived in New York. I wasn't like to that extent, but I didn't either. It was almost like moving to New York is different from LA to me because you feel like a Muppet. And you're in Manhattan, you're gonna take it and you wanna be a part of the city. And it's like being in a Janet Jackson video. And my neighborhood, I was like, I wanna see what everyone's doing and I want them to see me not doing Beck lifestyle.
Yes,
right. Like, but I get, like, to me, I understand what that's coming from. And I see there's someone where I live on my street, a younger girl, and she doesn't have her curtains closed, and she'll be in front of the window. And I think, too, especially if you're a writer, like, there's a little bit of, like, I'm engaging, like, if someone's watching me, like, babysitting, I'll do my work.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
So many reasons.
I'm so glad you told us. We've been wondering about that for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I also here in LA, I used to live somewhere where there was a courtyard and all of our places faced each other. And I mean, I'm sorry if I'm not wearing clothes for a second, I want to run and get some water, like I will. Right. But I really wasn't thinking until my roommate invited a random neighbor over and said, and he was 4, and he was like, you're the girl that doesn't wear a shirt. And I was like, oh my God.
My gosh.
You know, it happens, okay?
Joe would never do that.
He was the girl who doesn't wear a shirt.
Yeah, it happens. What can I say?
Joe wouldn't tell you.
No.
He would just take a picture of
He
you in
would
his
just
private box.
watch. He would just watch. So Beck finally, she calls a psychiatric ward to find Candace's brother, who is dead, and she confronts Joe about Candace, and he really turns the tables on her. You know, she makes him feel terrible, and oh my God, you could have done this. And he's like, what are you thinking? How dare you? And I totally would have believed him. Penn Badgley was so good in this scene and in this episode.
Very convincing.
I will say, though, I think a red flag was the fact he didn't get upset or, like, weirded out by the fact that she called the psychiatric ward, stalked, like, this girl's best friend, and, like, thought he could have been capable of murder. Like, I would initially just be like, you think I'm a murderer? Like, that would be I'm like, maybe we don't have trust and maybe we should break up. Because that's not good. That means you're in a bad place in your relationship if you think your partner could be capable of murder. Like, she's not looking up to see if he's, like, seeing another girl. She's looking to see if he's murdered someone. That's, like, the fact he was so, like, not even, he was so chill about it. He's like, he's crazy.
But, like, what did Beck want him to say? Where is Candace? In the
my
ground. In the basement.
In the garden.
Do you think that Joe had anything to do with Candace's brother not being alive anymore?
Yes.
Possibly, but it could be one of those things, you know, on the show where it's just someone dies because they die. And
No, I think that was way too, like, coinkadinkle.
yeah, you're
That's
right.
not,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
agree.
something people say.
Coinkadinkle.
It is now.
It is, yeah. Exactly. And it all works out, and then all of a sudden they're, like, obsessed with each other, cool. And then Joe and Beck, they had that Mr. Mooney moment. It's like meeting the father, but for some reason this proved to Beck that, like, he was a good person. I don't know.
I mean, like,
Girls are
I don't know. I
stupid
think it gave him an
sometimes.
alibi because she was like, oh, why did you go after Candace and go to Italy and disappear for a week off the face of the earth? And he was like, well, actually, I was here with Mr. Mooney, who's like my father figure. So I
It's
think it was his
classic Joe,
alibi.
and when you're nice to an elderly person, like, not just nice, but going out of your way to go see them. And there was a line, Denise, he talked about going there a lot
Yeah.
every week. And, you know, like, that says a lot. And I feel like Becca's responsive to that, and she has her issues with her father. And there's Joe, like, showing her his.
yeah, that wasn't even a red flag to me. For me, it was just how he reacted to her doing all that research because that was above and beyond, like, social media creeping. But him, I mean, his story, if we didn't know what we know about, you know, his character, I think we'd buy it. I think it would look like a classic case of, like, oh, that silly Beck, she thought he was a murderer, and then you move on with life and, like, everything works out. Because, yeah, he is nice to old people. He's nice to the little kid, Paco. He seems like just a nice guy. What has he done that's mean to Beck? He's been like the perfect person. So just because she like thought she discovered something and then was proven to be wrong, and then he like shows her, you know, that big, because he was in a really bad place, and he shows her where he was actually going and a part of his life that she hasn't seen. Like I get it, because I think that would work for me too.
Yeah.
And it's like in our blood that we want to believe that there could be
Right.
that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's where, to me, your friends are like, yeah, do this for us. Like, we all want to believe that there is that guy, that someone is good.
Exactly,
You know?
that's what I'm
and
saying.
no matter what.
But then, you know, he's going to try to kill you if you go mess up his plans of murder and deception. And so that brings up Dr. Nikki.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Have children.
Oh, man. So you were right last week, Renee. We disagreed on something, and I realized now, I'm like, oh, Dr. Nikki totally knew. Just because he was smoking weed doesn't mean he's not putting the pieces together. So, you know, do you think when Joe tells Dr. Nikki that he's back with Ronaldo, yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, did not write that right. Ronaldo, do you think he believed him, and do you think he knew that it was Beck, that he's like, oh, Beck and Joe are back together?
To be honest, what I was like caught up thinking about, and I want to ask you, because okay, I have a question. So with these therapy appointments, I for sure was like, there's no way this guy's like that dumb and doesn't realize they're talking about the same people and just changing names. But I do find it now very intriguing that Beck continued to see him and have like real therapy appointments while she was sleeping with him. How do you think that, like, in your mind with that character, like, what was happening? They kept it professional for an hour and then like did it?
I mean, I think that's kind of hot. Like role playing. Like she's like they have this relationship, and then they go into that space for that 50-minute block of time where she is one person and he is another, and there are roadblocks and they have to
Whoa.
behave a certain way. That's my take on it. I mean, that's what.
Because I found it so interesting. She was even saying like, ooh, like I liked seeing him, and like kind of not flirting with Joe with him, but like just showing she's having these feelings and talking about it in such like a crush way. That's what I found interesting. She was continuing to sleep with him at that point, or stopped at that point, but like he was cool talking about that with her still. Because I feel like that's what you don't do that with your
No.
therapist if that's happening.
I want to see more of an explanation, maybe some flashbacks. I would really love to see that. Just putting that out there. I mean, it's already made.
feelers.
But yeah, you know what? It's like they're doing the psychiatric therapy and then they have physical therapy. You know?
Ooh.
But you guys are welcome.
Not covered by health insurance.
No, that hour's probably free because prostitution is illegal. Anywho, so Joe puts the pieces together there that she's not really talking to this girl from Brown, and he pistol whips Dr. Nikki, who, you know, apparently has family, kids, all of that, lets him go because Beck in the back of his head was saying, you're a good person. Like, is that, you think, what drove him to not do it?
Well, I thought that was a really good scene because he had both Mr. Mooney and Beck's voices in his head, and they have these opposing thoughts at the same time, saying like, it's okay, some people deserve to be murdered, and no, but you're not a murderer, Joe, and he was just struggling, and it was really cool to see him battle with those thoughts. Like, what am I going to do? I have all the power in my hand. Am I going to murder this guy, or am I going to let him go? So I'm so glad that he let Dr. Nikki go, but do you guys think that Dr. Nikki knows that it was Joe?
Oh, yeah.
Really? See, I don't. I do not think that Dr. Nikki has any idea that it's Joe.
I think he's on it. Well, okay. I don't think he does this moment until I think, oh, wait, never mind. I was like, I think Beck is going to say that he knew about the cheating. And then I realized Beck is going to be in the book dungeon next week. So never mind. Maybe not.
Beck no longer has her cell phone.
Well,
Again, another
what's
phone
new?
that Joe took from her.
Yeah,
But Joe has it, so it's fine.
oh my God. Now he's going to reply to people as Beck. Oh
Yeah,
my
he's
God.
gonna tweet
He
for
could have been
her.
doing that the whole time. He's had her old phone that was connected to the iCloud.
That's true,
guys,
but it would have been
He was trying to
suspicious.
be a good person.
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to reform.
So you're saying
guy.
So noble.
You're saying what he did with Benji, kind of.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we get into that crazy part of the episode, we also just want to remind you that we are on iTunes also, and you can listen to us in your car on the way to work, on the way home from work, in
On the way
traffic.
to a date.
Yeah. whatever.
And Spotify.
We're going to ruin the date if you listen to it before
Yeah,
that,
don't
but
do that.
maybe after. So please give us 5 stars. We love hearing from you. And just a friendly reminder. Lastly, Beck finds out the truth. So the scene that we've been talking about this whole time. And Beck is so happy. She seems like the most at peace she's ever been this entire season before.
Oh, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Renee,
You know, when she wakes up in her happy place. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No. First I thought about when she found the box. I'm like, I don't know if we were watching the same.
Well, you
episode.
guys, they just exchanged I love yous. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're like, okay, like we moved on from this whole cheating revelation, and now we're just going to have this blissful relationship with no secrets. So they're like, oh, let's have breakfast. I love you too.
Where are
Blah,
my
blah.
waffles?
Yeah. Waffles?
Tell him to get, like, some omelets, too. She should have been like, stay away. I need more food.
That's what I was saying. Like, I mean, here's the thing. When you're in that kind of situation, I couldn't imagine being able to, like, really think through everything.
Yeah.
But I would like to think of that moment. I'd be like, oh, I feel so sick. Will you run and get me, like, a Tom's from the store? Will you just go get medicine somewhere? And then you fucking run.
But she didn't, and she was in shock. And she, Paco comes by. I still don't really understand why Paco is so upset with Joe. But he probably just is like bad vibes all around. He's a kid.
I
Picks
think
up on
he's
stuff.
upset because his mom was locked up in the book dungeon and Joe lied to Paco about it.
It's especially when you're that age and you think of someone and someone specifically
Oh,
says
for
to you, I
sure.
will tell you the truth. Like, I am
Yeah.
the truth, I am the truth. And then they lie. It's like, that's an upsetting moment, especially with all the books. And he thinks he's like learning through these books. And now the man giving him the books is a liar. So it's, what does that make the books?
He's a kid. So I feel like I get it. I mean, I understand, but, like, I can't. All I'm thinking about is the box. I'm sorry. I'm very distracted.
Yeah, so we got that little tidbit of the secret hiding place of where, Joe does. And I love how she just, I'm like, oh, what cute little moccasin things that you have on. Did you notice when she stepped on the thing? I was like, oh, she's just so
No.
comfortable.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, when she stepped in the toilet.
Yeah, when she stepped in
Yes.
the toilet. Yeah, I was just like, oh, she's just so comfortable at home, and then just finds the box. And Elizabeth was so good in this scene when she
Yes.
goes, what does she say? She's like, oh no, or like this isn't happening. I can't believe this is actually happening. I'm in a nightmare. Wow.
I mean, there was a used tampon in this box.
That
Yes,
one-
there was.
Yes, and that part, and this is where, like, the reality set in for all the viewers, because, again, when we've gotten Joe's creepy moments, we've seen, like, him taking underwear, and we knew he took her phone, and there's definitely some creepy things, but this box, and seeing it from Beck's perspective,
Ew.
changed everything. The reality so set in of who this person is in that moment. It was so powerful. The tampon really got to me. And then, like, Candace's old necklace, kudos to Beck for remembering whose necklace that was.
Right.
But it was, oh my God,
I
everything.
think Beck was the most affected by seeing Peach's phone because Peach, her best friend, she was, everybody thought she committed suicide, but then she finds out, okay, wait, Joe has her phone. She was probably murdered by Joe and Benji's phone.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it would.
And in a bathroom without a window. In
my
his
God.
home. Yes, just
And
on.
the teeth.
The teeth, oh my God, the teeth.
Nothing will ever compare to the teeth.
Whose teeth are those?
Benji's, right?
Benji's.
They're Oh, that's right.
You know,
Yeah.
records.
Wow.
Yep.
It was shocking, and I just, oh God, could you imagine just seeing that? It would be the scariest thing. I mean, we all can say she should have let him go in the bathroom, and then she should have just ran.
She went too slowly. I know she's
She
trying to be
did.
casual, but, like, she went so
I know,
slowly.
I was like,
I
Get
love
out.
it because think about the early part of the episode. She's trying to figure him out. She's trying to find out about Candace. It's like how we all get where we want to find that box, but do we really want to find it? Like then she gets back into it with him. She wants for it to be. It's like, oh, but she has to look. She has to look, but then.
Well, Joe gets her before she's able to leave and locks her in the book dungeon. And that wraps it up for this episode as far as just covering what was on the screen. We have a lot more to talk about. First of all, a special segment where we ask you, Caroline, the burning questions that we have. Okay, I will start. And I know we have some fan questions
Oh,
too,
a lot.
right?
There's a lot in the chat.
Okay, so
Yeah.
first, what was your favorite addition to the show that wasn't in the book?
Oh gosh. I mean,
Or you can name a few.
Yeah, I mean, I love the neighbors. I love those actors like Claudia, Ron, and Paco. I mean, I think that was a great way to give Joe a family at home. a dysfunctional family. Terrific. I loved that murder last night because of the spontaneity of it.
Yeah.
And when we've seen Joe be so like obsessive and detail oriented and think things through, to just see him flick was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to know, I love this concept for a book and a show. How did you even come up with this idea? Like, how did this come to you?
I mean, it's always a weird thing for me to talk about because I'd had a really bad couple of years where I had my father passed away. I had like small scale like life problems, and I was just in a very dark place and like getting very like negative. And at the time, Facebook was more and more a part of my life, and it was just unhealthy to like go and see the world going on. So I felt I was talking to myself a lot in that way of like, stop it, like, you gotta be your better self.
Yeah.
And the voice of Joe just kind of came out of that, of like the two, like to me, the Joe and Beck of it, of like, we all have this side of us that's like, ugh, it's not fair. Like life is not fair and I deserve better. But we can't give in to that or we become Joe. And that voice, like once I had it, it was just in my head and just couldn't, when he's in there, he's in there.
Yeah, you still can't shake him off. Yeah.
Wait, were you like a duality kind of as Beck and Joe, you think, or were you more the Joe as you were writing this whole
To me,
thing?
like I have both sides of myself. It was me looking back because like at my life of like mistakes I've made, or like, the way you can never sit down and talk to your 25-year-old self and you can't, you can read your diaries. Like there was something I'd found in something, this is so embarrassing.
Yes.
Where I was like, had gone to a job interview and I was like, I don't want to learn Excel. I want to be on The View. And I read that and I'm like, you little ego. Like, learn Excel. Like, what? And I was in a place in my life where I was not like that at all. I was like in that, like, so when you remember the way that you were, and you can never have that conversation with yourself. And that writing to me is always kind of about the dualities of people and how we also find people that bring out sides of us that are different. Like Beck is to me, very functional in a way that Joe isn't, where she accepts the fact that she has different moods and different sides of her personality and tries to like, honor them all. And Joe just wants to possess someone.
So last week, Elizabeth Lale, who was on our show, she said that you are like the real life Beck. So in what ways do you find yourself to be similar to her?
So much. I mean, it was one of those, it was my first book, so I'm like, okay, like I'll put this girl in my apartment that I actually lived in. I'll make her a writer, like when I was wanting to be a writer, and I'll have her send her out to all the bars I went to with my friends. And in that way, so much of myself was imbued. But then I'm like, so when people are like, I hate Beck, and like reading the book, walking the show, annoyed at her, I'm like, oh, but she's trying, she's good. And that's why I love Elizabeth. I'm like, she makes you love her and see that, like, and even when you find out she was lying about something, it's like, she's just a human and she's trying to function, and no one is perfect.
Right.
I love that.
I really, personally, I found, a lot of myself in Beck, and I'm sure a lot of us did, a lot of young women do see that journey reflected in
and
her.
when I was that age, I didn't have Facebook really, so I can't imagine like the pressure of doing all that at the same time with having to post on Instagram.
Do we have a couple fan questions before we
gosh.
get into our news and gossip?
We do. So let's see. Home Soda Nights, hi, says, how open were you, Caroline, to the changes from the original story into
Hi,
into the show?
Very, because it's an adaptation as such a like fun art form, and it's a lot of work. And to me, like when you read a book and you see it all in your head, it seems like, oh, you just take it and slap it on TV. And no. Like it is so hard to like maintain the essence and have a show that's compulsively watchable. And Greg and Sarah were like certain that these changes would make that show. And I'm like, I want a show that I want to watch. I don't want like everything to be exactly the same. I love to be surprised. Those teeth.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Yes.
And another question that a few people have asked are, did you have a lot of input with the casting? Were you a part of that process?
So much fun, yes, to watch those tapes and look at pictures and imagine different. And that's another thing. Like those people are so good at that. It overwhelms me to see like, oh, it could be this way, it could be that way, all these different ways. Like, I like to take a page of words and be that way and figure it out. But when it's a show, I'm like, oh, let them. Yes.
Well, we wish we could answer more of your questions. Love you guys. We have some news and gossip, though, before Renee and I leave so they can have some book talk. I will watch it after we're done with the show. Okay, well, Caroline is going to take over our news and gossip section a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So last week on Halloween, I went to the U Writers Room, and where they are working on season 2,
Yay!
which will be shooting here in Los Angeles.
Oh!
Yes, in Hollywood and around and about. And that we'll start shooting in February, I think. So it'll be fun to know that Joe is like literally on the streets of LA.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're gonna have to look for him.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna be expecting a little invite, or just at least tell us how to sneak in. You know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Is it
And
is it taking place in LA?
It does, yeah. That my second book, Hidden Bodies, is it's a similar situation with the first season of You, where it's going to be a lot like the book, but you're going to have some new characters and some new situations for Joe.
That is so
exciting.
Oh my god. And I love that it's starting to shoot like very quickly. I appreciate that. I mean,
Yes.
February seems far, but it's really not.
No, I know, and I've learned my lesson with I want it to air already, because now that it's almost over, I'm like, yeah, take your time. I don't want it to end.
Do you see yourself writing episodes for next season?
We'll see. I mean, I will see. Yeah, I would
hope so.
love that. Yeah.
Yes, I hope so.
But I'm also starting to write a third Joe book. So.
What
can I say?
Joe
Oh my god.
I
I'm
literally
so
was just like,
so
praise
much
God.
Joe.
I love that.
So awesome. Great news, you guys.
That is really good news. I have the chills. I'm very excited.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, so before Renee and I part ways with these lovely women, we're going to tell you where we can find us on social media. Renee?
You guys, you can follow me at Renee Ariel on Instagram and on Twitter, and check out my blog and podcast, Sexting and the City. I just had Elizabeth Lale on my dating podcast, and we talked all about being creepy on social media, so you're gonna want to check it out.
You are going to want to check it out.
I'm definitely checking it out. And you guys can find me on Instagram at Maggie Clark on camera and on Twitter at Maggie on camera. And unfortunately, this is my last episode of You. I won't be here next week. I'll be out of town, but you guys can catch me on the A Million Little Things AfterBuzz TV after show on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Where can everyone find you, Caroline?
You can find me at Caroline Kepnes on Instagram and Twitter, and you can be a little creepy, but
She's like,
let's all try and behave, right?
Caroline's like, listen, I started this game.
That's why every time I tweet, I'm like, oh, shut up, because I have that Joe voice in my head.
Yeah. Well, you
great.
guys can find me, Sam Davidson, at SamD43, Twitter and Instagram, and SamDavidsonEntertainment.com. And we are going to scoot out of here for the special segment of talking about the book. Thanks, guys.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to AfterBuzz TV. I'm your host, Maggie Clark, and this is my very special segment called Book versus Show, where we break down Caroline Kepnes's novel You versus You on Lifetime. And today we're specifically talking about episode 9 of You on Lifetime, entitled Candace. And I am so ecstatic because I have the author herself, Caroline Kepnes of the novel You, sitting with me right here. Caroline, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
This is so exciting. You guys, like I mentioned before, she signed my book. I'm such a fangirl right now. I'm so excited. So anyway, we're going to get into the differences between this episode and the book. So let's run through those very quickly. Yes. I made some notes. So first of all, we already covered it that there was no Elijah. We saw a lot of Candace in this episode. Ethan in the book did not know Candace.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
Good. You get an A+.
Oh, right. I'm doing good so far. And there was no PI from Peach's family sniffing around. That was interesting that we saw that. And Candace was indeed murdered by Joe in the book by the beach, right? And he strangled her. And then
Brighton Beach.
Brighton Beach, right. And then on the show, we're seeing that she could potentially still be alive.
I'm just gonna say next week is a really good episode.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Okay, we'll find out. And then Joe mentioned that his mom and dad abandoned him, which is crazy. But in the book, his mom passed away early on, and then his dad was kind of like a drunk.
Yeah, his parents, I mean, there was just trouble at home.
Right.
And to me, it's like, it's always, the emotional heart is the same, you know, where like Mr. Mooney is the one who was like, all right, kid, I'm gonna care about you in my own way.
Definitely. And then the Dr. Nikki scene was really different in the show than in the book. The affair happened in the book, as we all know, but there was no confrontation in the book between Nikki and Joe because Joe was about to kind of stick up Dr. Nikki,
he's got the book When Bad Things Happen to Good People.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then he was about to attack him, but then didn't he get a text from Beck saying, I need you?
Yes.
Right? Because she needed Joe to look at some new pages.
Yep.
So then because of that text, Joe decided not to go after Dr. Nikki.
Yes.
Okay.
So I like that in the show, you want to see that out loud. Like, that's what I love about hearing those voices. It's like showing that thought process on screen is so important.
So different.
It makes the show so specific.
Than actually seeing it in action.
Right.
So I agree with you. I feel like a lot of these changes really served the show really well.
Yes.
But I'm sure as the author, it was difficult for you to be flexible with that because you're like, oh, it's my baby.
It's your baby, but it's almost like when you write a book and publish it, there's such a long road between writing, finishing, editing, cover, like all of this, that by the time it's out, it's like it's very much not yours. And I love the engagement that we have in the world, but I'm like, once you write that book, you don't get to sit next to it when someone's reading and be like, actually, this is what I meant. This is what you're supposed to feel. That's what you're supposed to think. It's like people can interpret what they want. So to me, this was like a book club on crack, where they read this book, they have this beautiful interpretation, and it's a gift.
That's such a great way to think about it because, yeah, as an artist, as an author, it must be so challenging, but I'm so glad that you have that perspective.
Well, it's because it's, like, to me, also for me especially, with like, there are so many references in my books to movies and TV shows and everything. I'm like, these people are artists, and now they're making art on my art. Like, I love that.
Oh, it just must be an incredible feeling.
Yes.
And then just one other thing I was going to mention about the changes was that when Beck found her items in the book, they were hiding in a hole in the wall.
Right.
And then in the show, and he had the Book of Beck too.
Yes.
That was really crazy. And then she discovered them on her own without Paco's guidance. So how do you think she came about seeing them in the book? Like, how do you think that she knew to pull back the tapestry or whatever was covering the show?
When something bothers you, like to me, that I just don't like tapestries. That's just me. But if I was in that apartment, that tapestry would irritate me, and I would want to. It would be one of those things that I wanted to pull down. But I like this because to me, to have Paco, who represents all the potential in any relationship event, like he's literally a child who you want what's good for him, to have him be the one that points her to it, I think is. Yeah, that's good TV. Yes, that's a really good, like.
Oh man, it was so good. So just a couple more questions before we wrap up. What was the process of the book becoming a show? I mean, did you pitch it yourself, or was it discovered? How did that happen?
Greg and Sarah got it from producers, and they all wanted to talk to me, and they had a great vision for it. And they're, again, like, it's that book club feeling where, like, I was so happy because they are great readers, which is why they're great writers. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when someone reads something like you do, like, really closely, it's like you can tell they're paying attention and thinking about all the emotions and then they're going to turn around and make something really, like, that's faithful but new and original. And I had that good feeling. Like,
and you were involved in the casting and then, of course, the writing of last week's episode.
Yeah, I mean, I got to write an episode. Like, that's
cool.
Yeah, most authors don't really often do that. So that was a thrill. Yes.
How often were you on set?
I went a few times. I mean,
so
I was there the
cool.
first day, just like that was when we were in Benji's office. And it was one of those things I always mentioned to Sarah because I didn't describe that in a lot of detail in the book. As far as I don't, like, not to that extent. And I walked in there and I was like shaking because I'm like, this is exactly, like, there are things that I would literally, like, if you gave me 20 minutes to write a page of, like, what does that office look like, this is what it would look like. And that's what I mean when you feel like, oh, your writing got through and people really get it. And
it's just
that's where it's a great collaboration.
I mean, it just must have been such an incredible feeling for you to actually see something that you dreamed up and that you created.
Yes.
In real life.
To pick up a case of home soda is something I will never forget.
It's amazing, Caroline.
Yeah,
wow.
thank you.
All right, one more question really quick. Let's see. any other hints that you can give us about season 2, except besides the fact that it's based on hidden bodies and it's in LA? Or do you have to say tight-lipped?
I mean, you'll see there's a brother and sister. Ooh. I mean, I can say things from the book that are, there is a brother and sister, Love and 40, and Joe will know them. I don't want to say much more because,
That's okay. Well, if you guys have read Hidden Bodies, I'm sure you will definitely have some clues. And I am ordering it next week. I cannot wait to read it. And Caroline, can you just tell us a little bit about your new book?
Oh, yes. Well, I had a book out this summer, Providence. That's a love story. It's everyone starts to read it and it's like, oh, this is different. To me, it's just another version of a painful love story. Aww. Yes, but there's maybe a little sweeter than Joe. Yeah, good. John was like my answer, my kind of break from Joe.
Well, I can't wait to read that one too. Yeah. I'm such a fan of yours, and I'm so happy that you are on our show tonight. Thank you so much for coming in. Is there anyone you'd like to give a little shout out to?
Oh yeah, hello cast of crew of you and all the writers. Thank you.
And thank you,
and everyone
Caroline.
reading too and watching.
Yes. Thank you for watching and listening, everyone. And again, you can find me at Maggie Clark and Camera and at Caroline Kepnes. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And until next time, buzz you later. Bye.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.